Hello, everybody. How's it going? How's InstructureCon going? Productive? Tiring? Both? All right, good. Well, I'm Lyman Missimer, and I'm from Google for Education, and I lead our business development and partnerships across our products, so everything from cloud to classroom to G Suite. And I work with all of our technology partners, so think anyone that you'd want to integrate with Google, i.e. Canvas. And I lead our partnerships and do all the deals and all the awesome integrations with those partners. And I'm going to pass it over to Marta, my colleague, and she's going to introduce herself and the topic of discussion for today.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Marta McAlister. I work on the G Suite for Education product and engineering team, although I'm fairly new to the G Suite team. Before that, I was on the Chromebook for Education team focused on K-12. And before that, Android, and before that, I was a public school teacher. So I taught 6th and 7th grade math before I joined Google and special education. Oh, thank you. Any other middle school teachers out in the trenches out there? Woo! All right, yeah, my sarcasm really caters well to that demographic. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about a new topic that we don't typically present on. Usually we talk more about our products. We're going to talk a little bit about our products later when Lyman comes back up. But first we're going to start talking a little bit about this generation that's coming, mostly now that's coming to college, but a lot of whom are already in your classrooms today, Generation Z. So, as I mentioned, I'm a former math teacher, so I'm going to warm you guys up because I know it's the afternoon. I don't know if you have happy hour plans or even if happy hour is a thing in Colorado, but I'm going to start with a little, hopefully easy math question. So, assuming they go to a 4-year college, what year will kindergartners going into school this fall graduate? I'm hearing 2030. That's when they'll graduate high school. When will they graduate college if they go to a 4-year college? 2034, boom, 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 yeah. 2034, that seems like so far away, but it's actually not that far away, and it's incredible, right? Because when I think about the jobs in 2034, and then I think about the jobs when I graduated college, and maybe you can think about the jobs that were there when you graduated college, sure, we're probably gonna have plenty of the jobs that are up here, but research suggests that 60% of the jobs that will be there don't exist yet. So how do we prepare kids for an economy that we have no idea what it's going to look like? A lot of what we do at Google is try to assess what are the skills that actually matter regardless of the industry and the jobs to help people solve the problems that we don't even know are problems yet. Right now, a lot of people show pictures like this, eerily similar to a lot of classrooms as well. Many educational institutions are still preparing for the past, right? They're preparing for an economy that isn't exactly like this anymore. Our economy today barely looks like this. You can think about taxi stands at the airport, how they've changed. You can think about hotel lodging, how that has changed with Airbnb and Uber, all these industries. And if our economy barely looks like this today, and we're still preparing students for an economy that sort of looks like this, imagine what our economy might look like tomorrow, including Uber, the Ubers of the world. Maybe autonomous cars are going to change that industry very quickly, who knows? And so at Google, we actually commissioned the Economist Intelligence Unit to do some research in this space. We interviewed a lot of employers, and we tried to understand what are the sought-after skills for people that you want to hire. What are the things you care about? And something that's actually really striking on this is a lot of the cognitive skills are at the bottom. And a lot of the more social, and I would say what people historically call soft skills are at the top. Things like problem solving, teamwork, communications, critical thinking. And these are all a lot of things that you learn by doing, by actually engaging in what you're learning, not by consuming. And the reality is that we're in a world that already looks like this. I know this slide is kind of goofy because it seems like a major exaggeration, but my brother actually works at Boston Dynamics and builds robots that look very similar to this, and they are eerily smart. Like it creeps me out. It's like some combination of being really impressed and also terrified at the same time. And we already live in this now. This is the 21st century. We're no longer saying we're preparing kids with 21st century skills. That was yesterday. We're in the 21st century. We need to be preparing kids for things that we can't fathom. And one of the root causes for a lot of the future and our current situation being so different from what it used to be is the cloud. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is the cloud and some of the tools that leverage the cloud, because this is the cloud generation. And with the cloud impacting everything, we're seeing a rise in things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, a lot of things that are taking advantage of this kind of computing. And we're trying to do the same in education as well, both at Google and at other companies like Instructure as well. I was about to say InstructureCon. I'm saying that too many times this week. And this is a generation that's growing up with access to these cloud tools. So we find Generation Z. These are students that are just probably about to enter college. And these are students that were born in the 2000s. These are students that have never known the 90s. Lyman and I were talking about this last night, but we used to reference all the kitschy things from the 80s as the fun thing that are coming back. No, the 90s are that new thing. Grunge is the new thing that's coming back. They're already past that cycle and it's coming back. They don't even know the 90s, which is crazy. And as of 2015, there are 73.6 million of them. And about 50% of that is, a high diversity population. This might be one of the last white majority generations in America. And Generation Z has a lot of things that are true about it. I'm going to go through a few different things, the first of which is that this is a true digital generation. As I mentioned, these students, these kids, were born after Google. So when I remember when I was little, the first time we ever connected to the internet, I was very excited. We grew up before the internet, and then we got the internet, and I was like, what is the internet? And I was fairly little, but my dad was on the cutting edge, always wanting to get us exposed, so we got a dial-up. And I remember being in our basement with our desktop computer and trying to connect to AOL. And it would go, and then my mom would pick up the phone. And I would scream, Mom, I was calling the internet! And the internet would hang up on you. And you would be so pissed because the internet could actually hang up on you. This generation doesn't know that, right? The babies that are born now, the newest iPhone you got at Christmas or Android phone that you got at a holiday, that's going to be the oldest piece of technology that this generation will ever see in their lifetime. Our chief evangelist, Jamie Cassip, always says this, but that fun new flashy device that you have with you today, that's going to be an artifact that's sold at some vintage shop that they'll put in their dorm room in college as a funny thing to look at later. That's their new record player that maybe doesn't even work, which is kind of amazing. And they're also used to having information constantly at their fingertips. Information to them is not this valuable asset that's hard to find. It's not something that's even, inaccessible to them, as long as they know how to find it and how to use it. Just some stats on this generation and how they access their digital tools. Generation Z is connected at least for 1 hour a day on the internet, but close to 50% of them are actually online for 10 hours a day, which is a lot. I see a lot of eyes being like, whoa. 93% of them visit YouTube once a week, and more than 50% of them visit YouTube every single day. They have information coming at them with a crazy rate of speed. They have 3.8 million searches on Google every minute, and in that same minute, 400 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube. They are also communicating in very different ways. They communicate via text, but also pictures. So 1 million snaps are created on Snapchat, and over 48,000 images are uploaded to Instagram in that same minute, which is kind of incredible. And it's very much a multimedia generation, as you guys can tell. I don't know if I would count emojis as multimedia, but they also like to communicate with those. And the technology and cloud aspects of this are not the novelty for this generation. This is not something they consider something they have to learn. This is just the world they live in. But this is also a generation that's worried about a lot. This is the post-9/11 generation. This generation has never lived in the United States when the United States has not been at war in some fashion. Yeah, it's kind of incredible when you think about that. They've never known the US in peacetime. They've also never known the US when climate change wasn't something that was constantly being talked about as something that's being left behind for them to deal with. This is also the generation I'm going to talk a little bit about that grew up in the recession. And so it's not surprising, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, that Generation Z is largely motivated to do things that have social impact. So as I mentioned, this is the recession generation. More than 60% of them are worried about finding a job. So when we grew up, or at least when I grew up, my parents, or I'm first generation, my parents moved to America. Their, stereotypical American dream, grew up from nothing, came out to be pretty great. I work at Google. I think they think they're proud of that. I don't know that our next generation Z believes that to be true, because they've witnessed the opposite. They grew up where their parents have lost jobs, some of them have lost homes. Maybe some older siblings have gone to college, coming out with massive amounts of debt, having to move back home because they didn't get jobs right away. So this is definitely a generation that doesn't assume that jobs are a given and actually considers where they'll go to school based on their odds of getting a job, not necessarily just on the brand of that school. And as a result, it's also not that surprising that a lot of them want to work for themselves. They're not really motivated by traditional corporations unless those corporations also embrace the kind of change and collaboration that they're used to growing up in. But this is not to say that this generation doesn't believe in education or even in higher education. They believe it's very important. In fact, according to some of the surveys we've done, 81% believe that a college degree is important in order to have a desirable career. And even though most of them are concerned about the cost of college, a majority of them believe that the benefits of college will outweigh those costs. They just want to know that their education will actually be useful and relevant for their actual lives. A lot of our interviews with students revolve around them wanting more internship exposure, more real-world, authentic problem solving in their classroom experience. And they don't mean waiting to get an internship senior year, because more and more jobs are looking for real-world experience and hands-on exposure, and less about some of the traditional skills, because the employers are seeing that a lot of people graduating from higher ed, they're not able to hire the talent that has the skills that they need. And so they use experience more than education as a proxy for talent. They also want to have a say. So K-12 has actually moved along pretty quickly. In the past 15 years, the collaborative model, more flipped classroom model, a lot more project-based learning. K-12 has made a lot of changes recently, and there has been a huge adoption of technology in the K-12 space as well, including of Google for Education tools and Canvas tools alike. But I don't know if as much of that has been happening in higher ed. So we've been hearing a lot that students want to have a seat at the table in how they learn. And so in a majority of schools, they'd like to actually design their own path, their own courses of study. So what do we do with all this information? I've been seeing a lot of nodding. I've been seeing a lot of fear. I've been seeing a lot of empathy. How do we prepare for this generation that has all of these sort of experiences? Well, we know that education is an important aspect of preparing them for that, and the world is changing, and that we need to move forward. And a lot of the skills that we showed on that slide with the economist unit are not necessarily new skills. They're skills that we've known are important: problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and others. And it's not that we're not teaching them maybe, but we might not be asking the right questions. A lot of our education system is revolved around providing answers to students, but we really need to be providing them more outlets for actually asking a lot of questions of their own. And so some of the next couple of slides, I'm just going to go through some of the questions we ask when we're talking to students and helping them reframe how they think about their own learning, and some of the questions we ask when we talk to educators when they try to reframe how they're teaching other people. So one of the most popular questions that you used to get asked when you were little was probably, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? How many people have heard that or have asked other people that before? What do you want to be when you grow up? So Jamie Cassup, our chief evangelist again, who does a lot of these keynotes, he hates that question. He thinks the right question should be, what problem do you want to solve? Because if I ask you what you want to be when you grow up, as we said, 60% of the jobs of the future don't exist yet. So why prepare yourself for a job when you don't know what other jobs could be a possibility for you? And so this is actually one of our best examples at Google of this in action. So how many of you heard of the Google Science Fair? A few of you. It's actually really credible. I cry every year when I watch the videos because these kids are unbelievably inspiring. The student that's in the middle, that girl with the yellow trophy in her hands, was once told by a teacher that she wasn't very science friendly. She wasn't your typical science student, I would say. But there was a really big problem she wanted to solve. She's from the Philippines, and her neighbor had no electricity. And so her friend who didn't have electricity couldn't do a lot of homework at night, and she was really bothered by that. So she decided to invent a flashlight that's powered by the heat of the human hand. And she was 15 years old. So I think we all can believe that this generation has a lot of capability, but we also need to believe in ourselves as educators and our own capability to learn with them and provide the environment where they can do things like this. The other important question is how you want to solve that problem. So when you know what you want to solve, there are a lot of skills and things you need to learn in order to solve that. This is a picture of another one of our Google Science Fair winners, Brittany Wanger. Her mom had breast cancer. She was very personally motivated to figure out better ways to detect cancer at an earlier phase. And as we mentioned earlier, this generation's really impacted by, or really motivated by social impact. And the science fair is a really good illustration of this over and over again. But so Brittany actually won the grand prize for the Google Science Fair a number of years back. Her work for lowering the costs and actually raising the precision of cancer diagnoses won her a Times Magazine 30 Under 30, but she actually completed all this work when she was 17. And it's what's most remarkable about this is, she had this amazing project, but she had no idea how to solve this when she first started. And what she ended up doing was going to a library and going online and teaching herself initially how to code, teaching herself what machine learning was. And she ended up creating a neural network that mimics the brain to be able to complete an inordinate amount of tests in order to increase the precision of early detection of cancer cells. And she now actually has a company called Cloud for Cancer. She's now working in leukemia and ovarian cancer. And the program she created, Cloud for Cancer, is 99% effective in detecting malignant cells. She was 17 when she started this. It's kind of incredible. And the other thing is she had to learn a lot of the tools, like what do you actually need to solve this problem? This is a picture of Azella, who's the 2-year-old daughter of Jamie Cassip, the evangelist I keep mentioning. He got her a Google Home. She got a Google Home for the house. And Azella, who, many of you, if you have kids, you probably notice they quickly learn how to use your phone. They immediately touch everything. They assume everything will be a touchscreen. They learn things very quickly. She saw everybody asking Google Home, what's the weather today? Google Home, what's the traffic to work today? And so she really likes superheroes and princesses, hence the outfit with the cape and the dress. She was asking Google Home for the Superman Batman theme song. She just asked the question, and Google Home said, I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that right now. It's not something that Google Home can do at the moment, right? And so she asked it again and again, and she got really frustrated, and she said to her dad, Papi, Google's broken. And if you can imagine, she expects an immediate response. This is a generation that has an expectation for something to not only work, but to be immediate. And can you imagine a world where Google doesn't break for her? And if Google answered her, it knew her age and gave an appropriate response, or better yet, asked her a follow-up question? It'd be incredible. So that's a lot of what we think about in terms of preparing tools for this generation. And with that, I'm actually going to hand it off to my colleague, Lyman, who's going to tell you more about those tools.
Thank you, Marta. Hi, everyone. Like I said, I'm Lyman Missimer, and I handle business development and partnerships for all of these awesome products you see popping up here. And a lot of people ask me what that means. And so I get to work with a bunch of incredible product teams every day. The classroom product team, the VR product team that built Expeditions. And in terms of what I do, has anyone here seen Jurassic Park? Most people. You know the guy that shows up to Jurassic Park in the suit and is the boring lawyer guy that handles all the business terms and just gets to say no? And gets to work with incredibly brilliant people that design all this cool stuff? That's me. So Marta's spoken a lot about what Generation Z cares about and also what they want. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what these students are already using in K-12 and what they expect to use in college. So just to kind of level set, scroll up my notes here. I want to just kind of state our vision for K-12 and higher ed, and that's to provide cost-effective, tailored support to improve student outcomes and also empower teachers. So we offer a set of hardware and software tools that we think help accomplish this goal. The tools don't do it themselves. It's all about the teachers and the users. But this first begins with Chromebooks. And so the devices are fast, sturdy, and versatile tools for collaboration and communication. And then for communication, teamwork, individual work, we have G Suite for Education, we have Google Classroom. And it's collaboration you can access anytime, anywhere, on any device. And then finally, all of this is wrapped around an administration console that helps schools stay secure and stay compliant. So I'm gonna go a little bit by the numbers here. I'll actually use the clicker. So just to give you a sense of our impact and our reach right now in education. Chromebooks are the #1 selling device in US schools and most recently in Swedish schools, yay. And secondly, 20 million plus students are using Chromebooks every day in the classroom. And again, the majority of that is in the US, but we have a ton of Chromebook schools in the UK, the Nordics, France, Spain, Australia, New Zealand. I think I met a friend from one of our Sydney schools. I think I see him over there. Hey. Oops, got to get that logo there. And then also 30,000 Chromebooks are activated every day in schools. Finally, last stat on Chromebooks, 13 plus OEMs are creating Chromebooks. And that's crazy because when I started in the Chromebook team in 2013, there were 2, Samsung and Asus. And Samsung couldn't even keep up with the demand. So you won't even see them on, they're not as big anymore, let's just say that. And there's 70 million users of G Suite for Education. And that's across K-12 and higher ed, and that's global. And lastly, there's 20 million students and teachers using Google Classroom. So you can see these numbers are huge, but they're also mainly focused on K-12. So what do we offer higher ed? What are we doing there? We get that question a lot. And so there are 2 products that we encourage higher ed institutions to use. The first is Google Cloud Platform, and I'll go into a bit about what that means in a sec. And the second is G Suite for Education. And just curious, is there anyone that works on cloud or has developed on Google Cloud Platform before? Anyone in the room? Guess not. It is a relatively new offering into the higher ed space. So I want to go into what we're doing there. First of all, Google Cloud Platform helps IT administrations with their infrastructure. It helps them save time. So there are some colleges that actually host Canvas in the cloud or on-prem. So we want them to stop doing that and host it on Google Cloud Platform. Secondly, we help researchers do things like spin up supercomputers over the weekend or apply machine learning and AI algorithms to their research projects. Getting researchers to use our supercomputing power to help them with their needs around big data is a really big push that we're making right now. And thirdly, we're also trying to help with teaching. We have a credits program where any computer science teacher at any college can sign up and get credits for their students to be able to develop on Google Cloud Platform. The second thing we encourage higher ed institutions to use is G Suite for Education. So just curious, I'm going to do a little poll, show of hands. How many people use Google Tools, G Suite, Gmail, Docs in their personal lives? Awesome, most of the room. For the K-12 folks in the room, how many use G Suite district-wide or in your districts? Awesome, awesome, good amount. Looks like a lot of K-12 folks in the room too, which is great. And so that's great, but so it seems like a lot of you are familiar with the tools we provide, but we've talked to a lot of folks even at the conference, even at schools that use things like Gmail, and they're not too familiar with the full G Suite offering in the higher ed space. So kind of want to level set in why people use G Suite first. The first is it's super easy to get instant feedback, things like peer grading, group work. Google Docs really enables that, and that's one of the main use cases. You know, we talk to students all the time, especially in higher ed, and what they do is they collaborate on a Google Doc for the class notes. They also collaborate in a team Quizlet, and that's what they use to study. But then when they turn in their assignment, they have to convert it to Word and turn it in. Secondly, it frees up time. I think we've all experienced, anyone that's worked in a Google Doc has experienced how much time it actually saves instead of having to print it out, write in the red pen, send it back. It's just a more organic way to collaborate. And then we also like we're trying to get researchers to do with their research projects, apply our machine learning algorithms. So has anyone in the Gmail app on their phone, has anyone used those auto responses before? Yeah, those are really cool, right? That's just a quick example of how we're applying machine learning to our tools. And so, another poll. So for anyone in the higher ed realm, a professor, maybe an IT admin, does anyone here, especially if you're a professor, use Google Docs in your class? Cool. 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. A good amount. So why? Why do you like to use Google Docs? Why do you accept Google Docs? And can I ask? And you can shout it out too. But any answers into why you do that instead of Microsoft? It's easy. It's easy. Saves paper. Great answer. Okay, awesome. Assignment tracking, so making sure students turn in their stuff on time and then having it all in one place. Great, all great answers. And it's better for communication too. So we actually did a survey of G Suite users and non-G Suite users, mainly professors. We surveyed 800 in Q1. And so for the folks in here, we learned, maybe even took the survey, but we learned a little bit about you. And so just some characteristics we want to share. These don't really indicate any type of causality in any way. We just thought these were interesting, but the G Suite users tended to be tenured or on the tenured track, more gender balanced. They were teaching for less than 10 years, and they also taught huge classes. For the non-G Suite higher ed users, they were tended to be more part-time. There were more males. I forgot the L on that side. That's great. I guess it didn't update when I'll use that excuse. They tended to be teaching for longer, and they had smaller classes. Super interesting. We're not taking too much of this information, but just we wanted to share. Also, the G Suite users were more likely to be using an LMS, hence why we're here. And then, again, more on the research. The number one reason that professors accepted Google Docs, and again, we saw the reasons that you all stated in this survey, but can anyone guess the number one reason or why professors are accepting Google Docs as assignments? What was it? Convenience, it works. Money? All good answers again, but no. It was because of the students. The students were already using it, and the students were demanding it. So we kind of think this says something about Generation Z. It's an immediate response generation. Real-time collaboration, real-time feedback is what they want. Historically, when there was lack of a response from a question you had or maybe something you did, that kind of indicated that the person was super busy and that they had some more important things to do, which is totally okay. And people were fine with that. Now, when no one responds or you don't get an immediate response, it kind of seemed like it's intentional. And anyone that has participated in online dating knows how that feels. And knows the frustration. So the ability to even see that someone has a document open and is looking at it and evaluating what you've done is actually really important to this generation. So for those professors that raised their hand again, another thing we learned about you is that, again, like you saw, you're more likely to teach large classes, but you're more likely to assign 3 types of work: group work, iterative assignments, and peer review. And again, we think this indicates the type of user rather than any type of causality, but what it does show is that when collaborative faculty want to do all of these things, they choose G Suite. And so, in a nutshell, I want to bring this all together and talk about why we're partnering with Canvas. And it's because it's a tool that many K-12 districts, colleges, and universities use to get work done. And we want to meet the professors, students, and teachers that use both of our tools where they're at. More and more schools are choosing Canvas as their LMS, I think, as this conference indicates. So we want to align with our customers, and we also want to align with this awesome tool. And that's my goal as a BD manager, to make sure all of the products and tools that our customers use every day work as well as possible with our software and tools. Google really does believe in interoperability, and we're really starting to go a little deeper in that space because we want to work better together with our partners so everyone can get things done. So, coming to the integration, let me come to this side. I feel like I've spent a lot of time over there. Coming to the integration, there's 4 things that Canvas has enabled. The first is single sign-on. The second is being able to use your own Google Docs and course content. The third is being able to create cloud assignments. And then the fourth is being able to collaborate with Google Drive. So I'm going to show a video of a demo and then narrate it, because anyone that's ever done a live demo knows that you should never do a live demo. So one sec. Awesome.
Here at Canvas, we're excited to announce a brand new integration with Google Drive that brings together all the things you love the most about Canvas and Google without all those extra clicks and switching interfaces.
So
anyone who uses the integration, whether you're a student or a teacher, can now access Google Drive through Canvas
and what that does
using
is it
single
allows you to
sign-on.
access all of your Google
No
Drive
more
files.
multiple logins to
So
remember.
you can basically go inside Canvas and
Teachers
access
and
them
students can
anywhere. So
embed
anywhere
or
where you're
link to
using
Google
the
Drive
rich text
documents
editor,
anywhere they
you can
use the
actually
rich
embed a
content
Google Doc,
editor,
which is
including
awesome.
pages,
And teachers
assignments,
can actually also use Google
discussions,
Drive in their
and
modules
more.
as well.
Teachers
So
also
this
have
is,
the
this
ability
is kind of
to
the
include
cloud assignment functionality, which we're really excited about. So has anyone here ever used Google Classroom? Great, a few. One thing that Classroom does, did I pause the video?
Google Drive documents
One
in
thing
their
that Classroom
modules.
does really well is that when a teacher wants to assign a
Teachers
Google
can
Doc
quickly
template,
create a cloud
when they assign
assignment
it
using
once,
a
it creates
Google
multiple
Doc.
copies, and
Just
makes
create
each
an
student an owner of
assignment
that document.
using a Google
So
Doc
they can
as a
work on
template,
it, they can collaborate
and
on
a
it if
copy
they
of
want.
that template will be
But then when it
provisioned
comes
to
time
each
to turn
and
it
every
in,
one of the students to
whenever
whom
the
it's
student has
assigned.
that version of the document, they can
Once
turn it
students
into
submit
Canvas,
the
and
assignment,
then the great
teachers
thing
can
is the teacher
access the
then
document
access
through
it through
SpeedGrader for
So
easy
normally this would be
grading
a
and
document that's filled out.
annotation.
The teacher can add their comments and SpeedGrade
Students
it
can
and,
also submit their
turn
own
it back to
Google
the
Docs
student.
as assignments
Another thing that Canvas
quickly and
can do
easily
is a student can
through
actually
the
submit a
assignment
Google Doc
submission
as a
tool
part
they
of the
already
assignment
know and
submission.
love.
So makes it super
Finally,
easy.
students
And then
can
finally,
participate
you can
in
actually create
collaborations using
So if
any
you want
of
to
their
start group
favorite
work on a
Google Drive
document,
tools,
presentation, or spreadsheet,
including docs,
you can actually do this
sheets,
all through
and
Canvas.
slides.
Assign the people or groups
We've worked
to the,
hard to
the
bring you an
collaboration,
integration
and then
that
from
will
there,
allow you to
you're
use
good to
all
go.
your favorite Google
So-
Drive tools seamlessly within Canvas.
Well,
We
that was
hope
actually
you'll
the last
love it.
slide. So thank you, everyone.